Hello everyone, so in this video we're gonna do a quick unboxing of a Japanese knife. This is an art knife, so very similar to the X-Acto knife in the United States, except this one is actually very popular in Japan for artists who do a lot of design projects. And in my case, I'm actually using this knife to cut leather. So what I want to find out today is to see, after unboxing, if this knife would actually perform better than the traditional X-Acto knife where most of the artists in the States use. So over here is your regular X-Acto knife. This is not actually made by X-Acto, but a off-brand called Excel. I bought this from a leatherworking store. They cost about, I think, $3. Doesn't come with anything extra. It's just one blade, the body, and the cap. So that's about $3. But this unboxing is this NT cutter. This is the brand name, and the model number is D-500GP. Not sure if you guys can see. So right here, NT cutter D-500GP. I think this is their top of the line art knife. The knife comes with 5 30-degree blades and 5 45-degree blades, all included in this one package. Also comes with a case and a blade protector for the head. Okay, so I bought this on Amazon. It's only $11 or like something about $12 shipped. So very affordable considering they're giving you 10 blades for free. Those different blades, I believe, have different uses for cutting angles and hard to reach areas. So just your basic packaging on the back, it basically tells you that there's a cap to protect it, how to change the blade, which is very easy. Just rotate the head and it comes off. And the knife should be very sharp. And this is a Japanese knife. Usually Japanese, I would say Japanese craftsmanship is very, very good. So I suspect this knife is gonna perform very well, but let's find out. So I'm gonna open it up. Very well packaged, very easy to open packaging, and so there's no hassle there. So there's a cap, and this is the knife itself. The knife is actually fully aluminum. It's like one unibody aluminum piece with a rubberized area for gripping. It actually, honestly, feels awesome in the hand immediately compared to the X-Acto knife. The X-Acto knife just feels cheap and light and not well balanced, whereas this knife, without the blade, obviously, feels well balanced. And so they said it's supposed to not roll around, but obviously without the cap, it actually still rolls around on the table. That's one thing I don't like, but if you put the cap on, it doesn't roll as much. So the cap actually makes it not rolling around when it's not in use. So that's quite nice. Okay, X-Acto knife aside. So over here is the included case for the blade. Obviously you can buy the huge big pack of blades, but they give you a sample of 10 to try out, which is really nice. So opening it up, those are the blades. The blades are actually very, very small and compact. So obviously disposable blades. So after those, runs dual, you're supposed to take it out and get a new one. So I think I'm gonna try the 30-degree blade because that's actually more of a similar angle compared to the X-Acto knife, which I believe is a 30-degree blade over here. Also, for a quick comparison, for leatherworking, I also have a just regular utility knife. This one is a DeWalt that I got from Home Depot. It does the job, but it's not very good because the tolerance is not good and it actually moves around when you're actually trying to do precise cuts. So not so good. So I believe for precision cuts, like especially if you're making small stuff like leather wallets, you most definitely want a very comfortable knife, and I believe this one is gonna do the job just fine. All right, so I just want to quickly show you guys the internal construction of the NT cutter D500 knife. So basically, this part is what's holding the blade. It's a two-part construction. and the blade slides in between. And on one of the end is threaded. So basically this goes into the cutter itself, and as you can see, it actually goes in very deep, so it's gonna lock very, very good. And this part is actually just for your grip only. This part does not have any thread on it. So basically it just freely rotates around. So this is pretty much just for your gripping purpose. You don't, when you install the blade, you don't rotate this part, okay? So I'll show you guys in a little bit. So basically I'm gonna put this in. And as you can see, it actually protrudes out quite a lot because the thread is very, very long. So I'm gonna slowly rotate the thread in there. So once I'm about maybe halfway, I can consider get my blade in there and then continue rotating with the blade inside there at the clockwise direction. Okay, so that's how you lock the blade on this knife. After fiddling around, I have finally found out the reason why I could not get the blade installed securely. It was because the whole assembly is actually very, very dry, and when it's super dry, it's really hard to rotate it all the way to the end and lock it. So what I did is I just went ahead and sprayed just a little bit of the silicone spray that I had, which was a lubricant, and then immediately like this thing installs and uninstalls like super smooth. So I'm able to lock it like really nice and firm, and then like it doesn't move around. So the trick is if you buy the same thing, the D-500GP, you're probably gonna find it very hard to tighten. All you have to do is just put a little bit of the oil or any kind of lubricants at the thread. When you unscrew it, put a little bit on the thread and then screw it back in, and it would be so much easier to install the blades. Okay, so that's the trick that I found out the hard way. And now we can move on to the next section, which I am just gonna actually freehand cut a few pieces of leathers and then let you guys know what I think about this this cutter from Japan. So and again, we're gonna compare with the two existing knives that I used to cut the leather. So just gonna cut some straight lines. Let's see. Obviously, the leather is very soft, so when you cut it to the end, it kind of moves around. But I mean, it cuts like, you know, very straight lines, so that's good. And it's actually easy to control. I don't have to use as much force as the X-Acto knife, which let me show you guys. So with the X-Acto knife, the problem is the blade is actually too long. So between the point that I'm gonna apply force to the blade, the end of the blade is actually quite a long distance. So when I'm trying to cut, I have to exert more force while I'm cutting the leather. Okay. However, I mean, it cuts straight line just fine. So fairly straight. It's just that I have to use more force on the X-Acto knife to get the same kind of job done. So compared to the art blade, or not the art blade, the D-500GP from NT Cutter, I don't have to use as much force, and I feel like the cutting is more precise. So I can cut like very nice straight lines, no problems at all, like freehand. Usually I don't do freehand, but I just want to show you guys that it is possible to cut really nice straight lines using this knife very easily. What I'm most interested to find out is if it can cut a curved line better than the X-Acto knife. This is my general utility knife. I use this for like very large cuts or anything that doesn't require precision. because this one actually, the blade inside moves around quite a lot. However, this one cuts easier than the other two because it's more substantial, so actually more weight being applied, and it's much easier to cut than any other two. And also it cuts fairly good straight lines. There's no complaint there. So I would suggest anything that's big, like this kind of utility knife, you use it for large cuts. But for fine cuts, most definitely, I think for me personally, the NT cutter, D-500 is actually a better choice. Cutting curved lines. So obviously the first line didn't go through. Not bad. And as you can see, it cuts really nice and, you know, very smooth cuts. Let's try the X-Acto knife. I'm going to cut some curves. And again, for X-Acto knife, I have to apply more force because the tip is further away from where I'm applying the force. So, also cuts, you know, fairly good round lines. I mean, most definitely, I would keep both of those knives in my toolbox, because I think each of them will probably have an advantage when it comes to actual use. But for sure, the X-Acto knife, after a few cuts, my hand just gets hurt, like especially the joint over here, because the amount of force that I have to apply, you know, on this area, and it's really far away from the tip of the blade. And this one, again, it's a 30-degree blade, so same angle as the X-Acto knife, but this just cuts like so much more smooth. It's definitely smoother of a cut. So cut some curves, waves. No problems. So cutting, you know, fairly good waves. What about X-Acto knife? Again, it's a lot more force that I have to apply. So yeah, I'm definitely liking the NT cutter. I mean, even for freehand, it's so much easier, and this rubber grip helps quite a lot when you're doing cutting work. So do a freehand curved cut. So I'm just tracing the coin's shape. I mean, not too bad. It's a fairly nice cut. I'm sure if I spend some efforts, it's gonna cut really nice, okay? So I guess I'm gonna jump into conclusion. For sure, this is gonna be my backup knife now, the X-Acto, because it's just like, it hurts my hand a lot when I'm using it to cut leather, especially intricate works. And this one, so far, it haven't caused any fatigue on my fingers, so that's really good. And it's a beautiful piece of tool. It's just well made, and it looks nice. The rubber grip most definitely helps to reduce the stress on the joint, so my joint doesn't have to work as hard, and I don't have to press as hard to make a firm, nice cut. And that's definitely a really, really nice thing about the NT cutter. It's a joy to use, and for sure, I think I'm going to use it a lot more for any kind of art projects. And yeah, it's just so much easier to use than the X-Acto knife. So I guess this is a little untold secret. The best art knife is not X-Acto, it's actually something that's made in Japan. I know another company, another Japanese company, I think also makes a knife, and it's basically just called the Art Knife, which also sells for only $6 or $7 online. I think both of those knives are probably a better alternative to the X-Acto if you're doing intricate work, because both of those knives features a blade that's much closer to the actual gripping point, makes cutting a lot easier. So very nicely made art knife. This is made by NT Cutter, and it's model number D-500GP. If you guys have any questions about this knife, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below, and I'd be happy to answer those questions for you guys. So just remember, if you bought the same model, make sure to lubricate the thread area. Use any kind of oil, like even vegetable oil is fine, just cooking oil. You have to lubricate it in order to get the blade, you know, situated and tightened well into the thing. Okay, so that's a trick that I found out the hard way. The blade, so far I tried the 30-degree blade. They have a 45-degree blade. Suits different applications. So 30, I guess, is for even more intricate work. You can cut an even nice narrow angle. For 45, it's, I guess, more general cutting. Both of those blades, you know, personal preference. You can use whichever one you like. And so actually, this is the first video that I'm gonna make for the NT Cutter art knife. The next video is this interesting circle cutter, which is also made by NT Cutter, a Japanese company. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.